Hi class. So I just want to show you real quickly how to do some basic things in Photoshop to your drawings. This is my, as you can see up here, I've labeled it properly as a file. This is my Heb Dave Week 1 A1, my first assignment. This would be my self-portrait. Uh, Obviously it's not my self-portrait, but well, this is the last drawing I did a few years ago. So anyway, so let's say this is your drawing and you've imported it and you've opened it up into Photoshop. Um, uh, so what am I going to do to it? I want to put a label on it. I also might want to adjust it. So first, you also notice here it is in the Layers panel, and if you don't see things exactly the same as I have here, you may have a different layout. You can change that stuff here under Window. You can find, if you don't have the Layers panel, anything that you want to see here, you put a check mark next to. And you can also use the workspace. Now I've created this one. There's different ones here: design, painting, photography, etc., etc. You can make your own workspace, or let's say I choose design. See, that's one that I don't like. So I'll go back. Oops. Uh-oh. Oh, I didn't like that. Oh, now I'm going nowhere here. Let's pause it. Okay, I'm back. So anyway, I have my own little setup that I like and that I use. And actually I may change that a little bit because you're not going to be able to see the character stuff down here very well. So maybe I'll switch this, pull that panel up here. Oops. There. Okay. There, something like that. Okay, so let's say I want to do some adjustments there. Now you'll see things where they talk about going into image adjustments, brightness, contrast, and so on, exposure. I would suggest using layers because you can edit them, and if you just click this little button here, new fill or adjustment layer, and then you can go levels is easier, curves I prefer. I'll just do levels here, and then let's say I want to make the darks a little darker, maybe make the brights brights are fine, adjust the midtones a little bit. So that's a real quick way to do it. And you'll see that this layer here, if I don't like it, I can just turn it off. And when I save this as a Photoshop file .psd, I'll still be able to edit this later. Whereas if you do image adjustment, that's the end. You can't change it. Okay, so I did that. Now I want to put a label here, but I don't want to put it on top of my design, my drawing. So instead, I can use the crop tool, and let me just clear the front image there. I don't want to use that. I can just select it, and then if I wanted to crop it, I could do that, and then if I hit enter or if I hit the little OK button, it would crop it there. But I can also do the opposite. I can also make it bigger all the way around. And as long as my background color is white, you can switch that. Oops, I can't switch it while I'm in the crop tool, but you can switch that by clicking on the color. But you want the background color to be white, not the foreground color. So let's see, so I'll do it like that. I'll give myself a little extra there, and then I'll double click it, and there we go. Now I have a border all the way around, or a margin. Now let's say that I had a white drawing and you can't see where the edges are, and I want to make a border to that. And just to show you what I'm saying, I will create that by making it much brighter than it should be. Whoops. Let's say that it's a very light kind of drawing. Maybe that's kind of ridiculous, but see here, you can't tell where the edge is. Well, the way you fix that is first you go into your layer. Actually, you know what? It's not going to work. I just realized. Well, there's two ways to do it. I'll do it another way here. One is I can just select around it like this. As long as see, you got to make sure you're on the background layer. Okay, and then I can go to Edit, Stroke, 2 pixels, black on the outside. Okay. Hey, look at that. Now that's a little harder to line up. Let's see if I can do the other version that I like. I'm undoing it now. The other version is, see, it's not going to work because I made the background there. Let's undo it further before I did that. There we go. Let's say I'm there. Actually, let's say I'm there. Okay. First, what I can do is I want to get rid of this lock. The way I do that is click and drag that to the little trash can there. That gives me more ability to edit things. And now I'm going to use what's called layer styles. Let's see, where do I go for those? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend the canvas size first. Actually, I just realized I want to do that first because I actually need another layer underneath here. I'm going to click on New Layer, and I'm going to click and drag it down below so it's the underneath layer. It's going to be my new background layer, and I'm going to make it white, and to do that I'm going to turn off these two layers here. I already switched this when you weren't looking, but here this allows you to switch it from black to white. Or switch the foreground and background color, and the background color is white. If I double click it, I can make sure, drag it up there, FFFFF is white, and then I'm going to click on my paint bucket, and boom, now it's white. Now I can do this and do this. Now when I change this size, or put the stroke line on there, I'm going to do that using, if I double click there, that will bring up the layer style. You can also get that by going to Layer, Layer Style, but then it makes you choose one of them, such as Stroke, and it automatically puts you on the stroke layer. But I'm lazy, I just like to double click, and it comes up, and then I choose Stroke, but you'll see nothing's there yet, so I have to also click here. And that then brings me into that little adjustment. So now I can say I'll make it 2 pixels. Oops, I don't want it to be that big. 2 pixels is fine. I'm going to position it on the outside because I don't want it to interfere with my drawing, and of course I want it to be black. I'm going to say OK, and you don't see anything. Well, that's because we have to make it bigger, and I'm going to show you. I could use the crop tool as I showed you before, but here's another way to do it. I will instead just go to Image, Canvas Size, and I'm going to select, I'm going to make it %, and I'm going to make it, how big? Let's just say 120%, 120, and it's got to be in the center, and that means it'll make it bigger all the way around equally. When I say OK, there it is. Oh, but look what happened. It's you can see over here, there's nothing in the background color. That's because it didn't allow me to extend the canvas color. I'm not really sure why that's happening. Normally it'll allow you to do that, but it's easy enough. I'll turn these off again, and I'll just give myself another little paint bucket. Oops, I got to make sure I'm on that layer. There I am. Now I've made it white again, and there we go. And now you see my stroke line, which is nice because if I had, I'll go back to my levels here, if I had it, really kind of burning out, if it was really white, a lot of white on the paper, you would be able to understand where the edge is. So now I can do my label. After all that, well, I did kind of show you a few other things. So the text tool is right here. And now, even though we have my last name first, underscore, week 1, A1, I don't need to do that here. I can just write my name in a normal way. And if I click there, it just so happens that my default character size, and you'll see it up here, once you click on the text tool, whenever tool you click on, you get a new menu up here, is Nunito, which is a downloaded font. I'm just going to go all the way up to Arial, which is my preferred font. Where is it? There we go. And I'm just going to type Dave. Oh, and you'll see it's invisible. It's white. Why is that? Aha, because there. Now, if you didn't had it lower, you wouldn't see anything. You say, where is my text? And there, I'll delete. Your text is there, but you need to make it black. So there. Now, when I type Dave, oh my goodness, it's so big. So what am I going to do? I'm going to click, and when you're done, you can hit return. That'll just bring you down to the line, next line. You don't want to do that. You just, to get out of it, you just click on the move tool. And now, if I move it over, you can see it. That's way too big, right? Well, now if you click on the character panel, and if you don't see it, you can just go to Window, Character, and it will appear somewhere. I don't want it to be 36. I want it to be like 12. There we go. Perfect. Now, I can click and drag this and move it over. Now let's say I want to edit this. Now if I click on the text tool, and this can be a little tricky, you have to make sure you get it right where you want it to be, otherwise it creates a new text layer. Now I can hit return. Whoa, now why is that happening? That's because I have that set really weird from the last thing I did. I'll put it back to normal, auto. That's the space between. So now all I have to do is hit enter. And then I can write, let's see, what are we, week 1, A1, And I'll just do my thing up here, FND, oops, let me make it capitals, FND 110, and then I'll hit enter again, and let's say the section, actually, you know what, I'll do that on the, now I can just kind of click up there and I'll do that, FND 110, and then the section is going to be, oops, why is that word? FND 110. Section, let's say on section A01, probably either like P or Q or something, 3 or 4. And then I'll do the date, and I'll just do, let's say summer, SU. We used to use these codes, I don't know if they use them anymore. SU12, you can just put the date of whatever day it is. Okay, great, except what? You can't see it because it went off the edge, so how am I going to fix that? Well, first I'm going to click somewhere and get out of this. I'll just hit the move tool to do that. And now I can just quickly take my crop tool, make it the whole size, and I'll just make it big enough that I can see it. Oh, and again I have to go back and do this. Oh, isn't that annoying? Make sure I click on that layer, and then there we go. Okay, so now it makes sense, right? Now you know how to do a label. You got all the information I need, and it's not interfering with my drawing, and my drawing has a nice border so I can see it clearly and know where the edges of the drawing are and where this border is here, and everything should be good. And of course we want it to look pretty, so we'll go back and fix our levels. We have to click on our adjustments here to be able to see it again, and we'll make it look a little nicer. Maybe not too much contrast. Be careful that you don't make too much contrast, because then you don't get to see the tonalities of the drawing medium. And definitely don't make the white. See, I lost detail when I blow it out like that. You lose some of that sensitive little detail there. So you want to try to find just kind of the right balance between contrast and the ability to see what you got there. Okay, so now the final thing, now that I'm done with all that, is I need to save it as a JPEG. Now I could just save it as a Photoshop file, or I could use save as and save it as something else. But what we prefer in this class is save for web and devices. And then here you can have all sorts of presets. I wouldn't use those. I would just keep it wherever. But you don't want to use a GIF or any of these other ones. You want a JPEG. And I like to have it at maximum, quality 100, optimized. Yeah, I don't know if that makes how much difference that makes. And then convert to sRGB. That's always good. I think these are default. I just go with the default. I don't worry about any of that. And the size should be whatever it is. If you need to change the size, you should do that first in image size. You don't want to make it bigger. You want to make it smaller. If you make it bigger, you're going to make it so that you lose resolution. So you're always going to start from whatever it is, and you can only make it smaller. It's called downsampling. You don't want to upsample. Upsampling gives you degradation, and you lose resolution. Everything looks all blocky, and you don't want that. Okay, so I did that, and I'll say save. And it just asks me where to save it. I'm going to save it on my desktop, Heb Dave, and look, it's already naming it the same thing. I'm actually going to have to, let's say this is my second version, I'll just go like _2. And then I'll hit, that's how you do versions, so that as you're doing new versions, you don't want to keep naming it the same thing, and then I'll hit save. And then I'm done. And then I can close Photoshop and upload my file. Okay, I know that was a little lengthy to get to just how to format things, but I thought you should get just a sense of how Photoshop works and how you can do these different things. You can do it a little simpler maybe, and once you get a little more familiar with it, it'll be a lot easier. But I wanted you to have this understanding of how to put a stroke on it, have a background layer, your drawing separate from your background, how to do levels. You can also use curves, or if you want to just use brightness and contrast, that's fine. And then your text layer should be right on top here. That's another thing I didn't mention. If I put my text layer down here, or even way down at the bottom, suddenly it disappears. So you got to make sure it's on top. Okay?